Hi there, happy to see that you have submitted your first set of essays. Let's take a look at this. The first one is about bird flu. Let's see what you wrote here. The bar chart shows the bar chart shows the overall number of people from all over the world who had been infected by bird flu every year over a decade since 1990. The amount of casualties, careful with your tense here, climbed during the first 7 years, which first started from 120,000 in 1990, increased steadily 10,000 every 2 years before 1994, and then added speed to 10,000 per year until it finally peaked around 160,000 in 1996. In the following year, the increasing amount suddenly raised twice and reached the highest number over the whole span, which was more than 175,000. After that, it kept fluctuated slightly over the rest few years. In general, global bird flu casualties has been growing rather slowing since 1990 until a dramatic surge was witnessed in 1997. And the figure remained almost the same for the rest 4 years. To add up, about 100 million people was killed or injured by the bird flu in 10 years. Okay. What I decided to do today, which I don't always do, is I decided to read the whole thing through. And I did it for a few reasons. I wanted, because it was a small text, I really just wanted to get a sense of what you were doing here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do a word count because this does seem really small. All right, so what I did is I copied and I pasted it into Word. And the truth is it's 153 words, but it still felt for me a little underdeveloped. So, and then there was another problem. There was no paragraphing. Now, paragraphing is not very, very important in task one, but it does become important when you are looking to get into those top 2 or 3 band scores. Okay, so you do have to be accurate with your paragraphing. This was just one block of text. So, what we typically do is we have one paragraph for the introduction and the overview. I always recommend putting the overview right after the introduction. And then your details should usually, it's not, a hard and fast rule, but they're usually split into 2 paragraphs. Okay? So, I thought this first sentence was a little wordy and there's just too much going on here. So the bar chart shows the number of people who had been infected by bird flu. Oh, wait, how about this? The bar chart shows the number of people globally who had been infected by bird flu from 1990 to 2000. That's it. That's all you have to say. Okay? The rest of this was too much. Then some of your grammar and some of your spelling was rather off here. The amount of casualties, that has been, we're talking about 1990, so this should have been in the past. So the amount of casualties had been climbing, this was spelled wrong, during the first 7 years. Now, this for me was a lot. I mean, it felt like you really just need to start at the beginning rather than tell me about that whole period of 7 years. You should have just started with where the figures were in 1990. It would have been a cleaner, simpler way of presenting this. So you could have said, starting in 1990, bird flu casualties numbered 120,000. Okay? The figures increased approximately 10,000 every 2 years until 1994. Okay, so let's see, the amount of casualties had been climbing during the first 7 years, which first started from 120,000 in 1990, increasing steadily 10,000 every 2 years before 1994. All right, and then you've got this sentence. Look how long this sentence is. All right, it goes into the third line, and there's just so much happening here. You started from 1990. You're talking about peaks. You're talking about 1996. So it was a lot of information in one sentence. All right. My suggestion to you is to break it down into smaller parts. When you see the sentence going into the third line, that should be your clue that you've probably written too much. So again, I would have rephrased this. I would have said that the number of bird flu casualties in the beginning of the period stood at 120,000, full stop. Every 2 years, figures climbed approximately 10,000 until X year. I don't know. What year was it? Okay. Then in the following year, get rid of this word, amount suddenly increased, or how about this, experienced a twofold increase, even better, and reached the highest number over the whole span at more than 175,000. Okay, full stop, fine. After that, you're saying it. What is it? Okay, so be clear here because you had a lot of different nouns in that previous sentence. So it's not clear to us what that it refers to. After that, numbers fluctuated slightly over the next few years. Okay, and then leave a space here. And then I didn't really care for this. I'm assuming you meant this to be your overview. Let's see, you wrote, in general, global bird flu casualties had been growing rather slowly since 1970 until a dramatic surge was witnessed in 1997, and the figure remained almost the same for the last 4 years. Honestly, this feels like such a repeat to me of everything you wrote here. So what you really wanted to do instead was you wanted to have an overview. Again, I'm going to say, I think it should have been up here. But you wanted to have an overview that said clearly bird flu casualties increased significantly over the period in question. That would have been enough. Okay? No data, nothing too specific, but just that. Clearly there was an increase, and you could have said despite a plateau in the last few years. But you don't even need to say that. But you certainly don't want to mention any data. You could have gone into more detail here. So what I'm suggesting to you is getting rid of this. They never asked what the total is. So you don't really need to provide it. I would have stretched out some of this information a little more. And again, I would have put that kind of an overview up here. Okay, so for me, it's something that needs work. I mean, there's grammar mistakes. There's, for me, organizational issues. So I'd like to see some changes made. Let's take a look at your task one. All right, well, I said task one, but I meant task two, so sorry. This is about employees switching jobs. Let's see what you said. While some people think it would be better to hold one working position as long as possible, I believe that changing jobs, benefits employees from several aspects. Okay, fine. First of all, it's unusual for most employees to get an ideal job when they start working, partly because their lack of working experience and professional ability. Okay, this should be partly because of. Some of them might have to cover most tedious work, like running errands or dealing with a large work volume when receiving rather low income. Okay, you don't cover most tedious work. So this is some incorrect vocabulary here. Some of them might have tedious work responsibilities. That would have been better. Okay. And then not when receiving, but while receiving rather low income. What's worse, some companies, S, might have really strict requirements, S, with promotions, S. Under these circumstances, considering switching jobs is a wise choice for young workers who, not whoever, want to carve out a niche for their career. as accumulation of working ability and experience grow, not growth, they might be able to get better working opportunities, not chance. Now, here you did not have a change of paragraphs, but you should have. In IELTS, paragraph, especially in task 2, paragraphing is really important. So if you don't have an appropriate amount of paragraphs, you will score lower than you would like in coherence and cohesion. Okay? So when there are mistakes in paragraphing, it will affect your score there. So I would have had a new paragraph here. The best way to indicate that it's a new paragraph is by leaving an entire line between your paragraphs, okay? Like you did here. So it looks to me like this is just 2 paragraphs. Each one of these should have had an entire line between them. All right, secondly, changing jobs, S, is a good way to catch up. I don't understand what that means here. To catch up, the fast pace, no. To catch up with, to catch up to, I'm not really sure. The fast-paced development of modern society. Over the last decade, rapid evolution of science and technology. All right, no. The rapid evolution of science and technology has caused a huge difference in workforce, that should be one word, workforce demands. For example, many cashiers nowadays have already been replaced by automatic systems in some countries, which means staff that are not prepared have to be laid off, despite the comfort of staying at the same working position. What? De- Despite the comfort, okay. Despite the comfort staying at the same working position brings, one should keep mastering new skills and seek better work to decrease the risk of being outdated. Okay, fine. Overall, although the elder generation often advise, here you want an S here, not C, younger people to stay on course, and it's undeniable that to hand in, no, is this a comma? Fine. And it's undeniable that to hand in a resignation needs courage. I believe that the advantage of changing jobs, S, outweighs remaining, ing here, at the same place. Okay, so this is not bad. There's some things that I like. You had some good ideas. You were able, especially in this paragraph, you were able to develop them, and I thought you did a fine job of that. But there are still changes that I would like to see here. Okay, as we've already talked about. Some of the language for my taste felt a little informal, but I mean it's fine because IELTS doesn't require you to write in a formal style. But I didn't really care for language like this. What's worse? You know what I mean? Like I would have preferred something that sounded a little higher level. Um, but you know, it's fine. Let's see. Some of the grammar needs a little work, so I want you to be careful with that. And then some of it was, you know, a little awkwardly worded, so I want you to be careful. All right, so that's where we are with this. I know it's your first set. So, um, yeah, I see your note here. You found a hard time having the things to say in task 1. You had a hard time because this is one of the harder task 1s. There's not a lot of information. So what you want to do in that task 1 is you want to really stretch out the information as much as possible. And you want to make comparisons. So when you have a graph or a chart or something that doesn't have a lot of information, what you really want to do is you want to extend it, usually by making interesting comparisons between a couple of the different data points. All right, that's one thing you could have done. Okay, but going back to this, go ahead and send us a new set of essays. I'm looking forward to it, and good luck to you.